All right, ready. So welcome everybody. We are going to learn how to make a bubble chart today. So we're going to use, first thing you need to do is just load yourself up a chart. Now I use all my bubble charts. They are loaded on Binance. So this is kind of where I load. You do not need the volume. So you can remove your volume or hide it. So there you go. So volume is moved out of the way. Now the very first thing I did when I first started to create my bubble charts is I looked for a consolidation pattern with the charts. And kind of where, what, when, and when I saw breakouts. So I just started to go in and I started to create horizontal lines. So you got to go over here, you got to grab your horizontal line, okay? Now, the first thing I noticed was that there was a consistent break of 53. So we're going to zoom in here. Okay, we're going to zoom all the way down here. And 53 point, and then we're going to drop it like right here, right there. Okay, so we're going to drop this first line. Now this first line is going to be what we're going to use to represent our bull break line, right? So anytime we get a push up over this particular line, it's 53.5, 53.6, and over here I've got 53.7 is what I've got over here now. Now this line has slightly moved over time simply because of the price action, right? And the first thing you want to do is you can go up and we can start to look above, and you see every time you break this line, you get a green run, right? Boom, green run right here. Now this, look at how well this line works out right here. Okay, you see how well as soon as you snap that line right there, right? As soon as you snap that line, not here, but there, right? As soon as you ran through this line, look at this big green candle, right? As soon as you ran through this line, look at this big green candle. Same thing, look at this big green candle. All these big green candles are pretty much right on top of this line. And you kind of march down, and every time you break it, look right there, you broke it, green candle. Right, you can take this thing all the way back. There it is again. Boom, green candle. Right, so this gives you kind of this, and what I tried to do with this, I tried to give you the break so you had a moment before it broke the line. Right, so this is kind of a moment before it breaks the line, and then once it does, you would have had the chance and you have your alarm set. Now, one of the things I like to do is I like to go over here and I set an alert right below this channel. So you add an alert right there. Right, just tap on that little plus sign and you add yourself an alarm. Now every time you get close to this channel, it will now set an alarm, and that alarm will trigger every time you want your system goes off. Okay, so now you've got 53.69ish is your now. If you use a different exchange, you'll see that using a different exchange you can also get different variations. So you're just going to have to go into your different variation. Now, one of the things I did, the second thing I looked for, right, and look at how important this is. Take a look at this, right? The second thing I looked for was a rejection zone, okay? So now I come in here, I grab my rectangle box, and I looked for a rejection zone that was right below it. And we're going to do something like this. What I used, mine was blue, the inside was empty, right? Now, you can clearly see, look at this rejection zone right here, right? So if we zoom into this a little bit, right, there's our white line. We're going to make our white line a little bit bigger. Let's make that a little bit fatter for everybody. We'll space it a little bit more, okay? So if you see, look at the rejection area here. Didn't quite make it, got rejected. Didn't quite make it, got rejected. Look at all these. There's a lot of rejections. So what I did is I started to go in here again with my horizontal lines, looking for rejections, right? And I labeled rejections as a red line, right? So I would go in here. I'd make these a lot thinner, right? And then I made these red. So now I could see where the red lines, rejection zones started coming from. Let me make this, let's squeeze this up here. There we go, a little bit better for everybody. So now what I did is I entered in, I started to just place the red lines because I was looking for consolidation zones. And look at how, look at touch, touch. Look at how amazing these all work out, right? bang, touch, all. Look at the consolidation along this particular line right here. You can see it as you go all the way back in time, how many times this is touched in this one area, right? So I began to find a pattern of a defensible line, right? Now this RSI became a defensible line for me. I then labeled this the rejection zone, right? This blue box was the rejection zone, right? Now this rejection zone is very strong, and then if you do, the next thing you want to do is you want to go up and say, okay, Chris, well, prove it to me. Show me this is the rejection zone, right? So what I did is I would go, and there's your long trade. So there's your rejection zone. Then we're going to label this the long trade, right? There's your long trade right there. Okay. So the first thing I started to do is I started to say, oh, this is where the bubbles came in. So I would say, okay, let's look, and let's do this one right here, right? We can do this one, and we'll do this little red bubble, and change it over to red, and we'll do this one, right? And we'll do this one, right? And we'll do, then what's our next one up? There's our next one. There's our next one. There's our next one. And what else do we got over here? We got this one. We got this one. So this is how the bubble charts were created, right? Using this method. So then what I did is I simply started to place in vertical lines. So I put a vertical line like that, right? Now we're going to make this vertical line. Yeah, we'll leave it pink, but we'll lighten it up a little bit, right? So I would come in, I would then place a vertical line, right? I would line it up, and then I just started to say, oh, you're right. Look at that. There's a rejection. Right? There's a rejection. There's a rejection. You can just start lining these up, right? I can scoot this over here. Right? Scoot this thing over here, right? There's a rejection. Boom. Right? So you see that a lot of the big rejections all are correlating inside of this zone. Look, there's a rejection. There's the rejection zone. See the bottom of the rejection zone. Yeah, this should be a little bit lower, so we'll get our settings in here too for our lower side, right? And there's that rejection zone, like inside the blue rejection zone. And then here, look, there's this one, right? So this is your heavy rejection zone, this blue box. So you can see how well this all correlates. Look, there's that rejection zone right there, right? You go up here. Now that one didn't get rejected, right? It did, but it was very small, okay? Same thing here, but it did get rejected. You were in the rejection zone. So then you got to kind of trace yourself back. You got to keep going back. Oop. And there's that one. There's this one. Then I'd have to come over here and I would go like this. Bang. Add another rejection line. Add another rejection line. And you can, once you see, you'll start to see a pattern, right? You start to see a pattern of all of the rejection areas, right? So you start to, oh, geez, look at that. And oh, look at that. Right? There you go. There you go. Right? You start to see a pattern develop inside of a rejection zone. So this is how the rejection zone was created, right? Now, there's 2 or 3 separate long trade zones too. This is not your only long trade zone. You do have a secondary long trade zone. Let me go over, I have it on this chart over here. Let me go find it. All right, all the way down, 42. So 42. So is that 42.18? So I then have a second, long run zone, right? So you got to go all the way down here, 42.18. Boom. Right, we're going to make that white. Make that larger. Right? So this is your second long trade zone. Oh, where the hell did that come from? Sorry, there we go. Okay, so there's your second long trade zone. Your second long trade zone is all the way down here. Okay, so this is where your second long trade zone, and then what you have to do is you have to start going up and looking. Now you're going to start to look, and you're going to say, okay, now how do you know that this is a long trade zone? So you start to look for the big green dillers, right? So look, there's a green one. So you break, let's see here, break there. Break there. Yep. Okay. So if you go and you start to look, now what I did is I would take white circles, right? I would take white circles, and this is where that white circle was, right? White circle, white circle. And you go along here and just keep looking and looking and looking. See, broke the line, was bullish, right? So it's definitely called a bullish trade. Look, broke the line. So if you get in here, every time this works. So you break the long trade line, right? There it is. And then there's your green diller, right? See how it works? Look, this broke the line. This is where it broke the line. Look, and this is all bullish. So if you would have played just the bubble chart, when it broke here, this would have been all bullish trade. Same thing here. Right? There you broke it. This would have been a tougher bullish trade, but that still would have been a bullish upward trade motion. Okay? So then I created, oops. Now, one thing you should do is when you create it, you should lock everything in. So unfortunately, let go it, click it, lock it, click it, lock it, click it, lock it. You know what I'm saying? You should definitely lock in your lines, because if you move them, it gets really crappy, right? You got to go and readjust them. So every time. So now I have two long trade zones, so right? So there's a second long trade zone. So now I've created a second long trade zone. I've shown you what you need to look for. Now you can clearly see how I got this second long trade zone. I also got the rejection zone. So now the last thing there's one other line that I have put in here, right? And this is the bounce zones, right? So they're bounces. So what that means is when the price action, so you have three things, all right? So let's put up three things. So you have when the price action goes down, right? And then up again, right? This is a bounce, right? This is a purple bounce, right? That's a purple bounce, okay? When you have the trade get rejected, right? This is a rejection line, a rejection or a rejection bubble, right? Rejection line, right? We're going to call this purple bounce line. And this is bullish. This is bullish, right? So it's a bullish. This is bear, right? And then you have the green bubbles. I'm sorry, the white bubbles. You have the white bubbles. Long trade. Bull. Okay, so I really used three corresponding colors on my chart. This is all I needed, right? So then the second thing I started to look for was, hey, where can I find these bounces? How can I correlate these bounces? So what I did is I took my horizontal lines and I start, look at this. You just go right in here. Look at how easy this is. You just go right in. There is, a little big. Let's go here. Let's reduce that down. Like, look at this. This is just so easy, right? And I said, oh, holy cow. Look at this. Purple. Right? Purple. 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 Within range, purple. right? And look at how that line, it's just too much, right? It's just too perfect, right? How that worked out. And every single one of these then became a bounce line. So the first thing you do is you take your horizontal line and you drag it over there. And sure enough, look at that. This was a bounce. Now, this was a purple bounce. So this is all this is it's a bullish but bearish bounce. So let me be a little more specific. But bearish continuation bounce. Okay. So all this is this: the price comes down. Oh, sorry, and bounces and then bounces down. Right? So I'll go like this. There we go. That's more like it. There you go. There's that one, that one. So this is the price actions. Comes down, bounces, comes down, gets bounced again, right? So this is what happens. So look on the purple line. Comes down, bounces, comes up, bearish continuation, right? So then I can go and I can say, okay, let's find the rest of them. Well, here we go. Like we're going to go down here. There's this one right here. So I would have put a purple circle right here. I would have then gone up here, put a purple circle here, and put a purple circle here. And both of these were bearish continuation bounces, right? These were rejection. These were just, all these were just bounces, right? Came back down, right? Came back down and died. Now, once this broke this line right here, right? Once that broke that line, that became a bullish line. So you know, you might have to take this one off. So that's not, we got to go easy because there's a third long trade line down there, right? There's a third long trade line. Let's go find it. There it is. Let's go. It's down here somewhere. I got a third long trade line way down here. Right? Where's it at? All the way down here. Look at this. 23.7 range. So when you get down to the 23.7, you have another bullish one. Oh, and there's another 37.9. 37.9 is another bullish run line. So we're gonna now we got to go over. We got to go back over here. We got to find 37.9. You can grab a line 37.9. Bam. Okay. Then we're going to turn this green, white, and then we're going to bring it up a little bit. We're going to adjust it right there, and then we're going to lock it in place. Okay, so now we have these established bullish lines, right? So we have a bunch of bullish trade lines now. So these are all, remember, you can use these for swing trades, but mostly this is kind of for intraday trading, daily trading, stuff like that. You really don't want to use this for like long-term swing trading. That's a little bit harder to use these as long-term swing trades. These are more of a day trade kind of thing. Even a scalp thing, you know, because this is 12 hours. So you can't really use this as a super low time frame scalp. You got to use this as like a day trading kind of a chart. And or medium term swing trading, not really long term swing trading. So you can't really get a pattern out of here for long term swing trading because look, they're broken. So if you would have been here, like, and you're looking for a super, like I couldn't have found the top. I couldn't have used this chart and found this, right? I couldn't have done that. I could not have said, oh, I know exactly when this happened. Right, I couldn't have used this chart to determine this, right? It would have been much harder for me to, because look, this blew that out, right? So look here, this kind of blew this out right here, because there was your, you know, your top was here. Where was your top? So your top was right here. So there's your top line. This would be your bearish top line, which would be a rejection line, okay? Now the problem is it would have been hard because you came all the way up here, hit this, and then continued bullish on there, right? So this would have been, you can't use this chart for massive long-term swings. You're using it for intraday, day trading. You're using it for medium-term swing trading. And when I'm talking medium-term, I'm talking, you know, up to a week, a month. You could use this for a month. You could swing trade with this for easily a month. but you know, weeks, months, days, no problem. But because it's on such a high time frame, you can't really do this on a super teeny tiny time frame. Okay, so now I've established that we have the bounces at the bottom, right? So we've gone and we've used the purple chart to now find our bounces, right? Now you just kind of got to go up in here, and those bounces can go both ways. You can also get a bullish bounce, right? So you can also use the purples as a bullish bounce to where you're going like this, up, green, right? Then it goes purple, then it goes green again. Right, so I can use my bounces for both of these, and this is all they are, is bounces. So you know, when you come up here high, so on this trade right here, look, this trade would have been easy because you would have broken your green line, I'm sorry, your white line right there. You would have broken your long trade line first, and you would have said, okay, I'm in a long trade right here. Now I would use this chart to historically go back and find bounces, right? And look, see this little nookie right here? Right, even that little nook right there. So I would have like gone here, and this I would have had to figure out, is this a rejection? What kind of line is this? So if I go all the way back here, I see this is a bounce, right? This is a bounce line. You got this came down. This came down right here, and it would hit that line, and then it bounced. This was a bounce line, right? So this came down. So I would mark this line as a purple line. So this would now go to purple. This would get pulled down. This would get pulled here. This would get locked in place, right? So I knew that this line was now significant, right? Because it did bounce off that line. And then as I move sideways, look, oh my God, look, it did it again, right? And it did it again. So this one. And then it did it again. So you see the correlation between all of these, and it's I want to explain it. It's hard for me to explain because I will when we do our crypto conference. I need to demonstrate it, right? Look, there it is. There's that bounce, right? And then you go and find this one, and look, there's that bounce, right? And then you go back. And then there's this bounce. So this was how the bubble charts were created. And you can see how simple it is. And oh my God, the grief I used to get when I would show this chart. People would be like, what the hell? This guy's crazy. He's drawn a bunch of damn lines on the chart. And none of this shit's lining up, right? People couldn't exactly understand how to do the bubble charts. Right, but this is what it is, and there's right in here somewhere. There's a bubble chart right there. There's a bounce right here, continuation bounce, right? But you can see how easily all of these line up. Now, what this has done is this has given me the perfect chart. This is the perfect chart because I'm not when I say perfect, right? I mean as perfect as we can get, right? And we're talking high percentage, right? What this has created is a high percentage chart for us. And that's what we're looking for. Just what are the high percentage odds that this gets rejected or this is a long trade or whatever. This chart now gives us, this is specifically says, when we cross this line, historically, every single time when we cross this line, we get, we get a green bounce. Okay, we get a green bounce. And every time, if you go back on your little chartsies, and you create this bad boy, I mean, it works every single time. Right? It would just automatically call a long trade for you. So the bubble chart calls a long trade for you. All right, and this is all you do. You set this bubble chart up. Now it calls tops too. This bubble chart will call tops. It'll give you a good idea in a range of where a top is. Remember, tops are going to be red, so you're going to start to go in. and dig in. And it's this simple. You look for consolidation. You look for, look, bam, top, 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 top. All these line up, right? Now you don't have to be exactly to the little ticky nubby, right? But look again, right? Top, 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 top. All the way across, you can see where your rejection zone. So as your price action is moving along in this range, right? Look at top, top, top. Had to wait again over here. Top, top, top. So you now have a better understanding of where your top side resistance is. Okay, and all you have to do is you go back in. Now you don't have to do all these damn bubbles. Okay, you don't have to go and do the bubbles, right? But you know, it's for your own. You know, if you want to do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't. But you just need the lines, right? And the lines are going to tell you exactly what you're looking for. So remember, red lines. Red lines are resistance or rejection, right? And you're looking just for a high probability of rejection in that area as you get close. And remember, because this is moving at such a slow rate, because it is a 12-hour chart, you have time. You have time, right? And purple, right? Purple lines are bounces, right? They're bounce lines. That's all they are. So you're looking for a bounce. It's where, and when I talk about a bounce, what I'm looking for are, this also tells you when your indicators on lower time frames and or higher time frames are in the oversold position. Right, so they're clearly in the oversold position. So at that point, now I bet if we went back to the 4-hour chart or the 1-hour chart, you know, you get down here, your RSI is just absolutely in the dirt at insane. And here's how this works. And once again, I cannot exactly explain this to you in a video. I have to demonstrate it physically. But this is just a cycle of stairs. And you have to imagine these as stairs, and stairs in a spiral staircase, right? These are stairs in a spiral staircase. And as you move linearly, so the problem is when you look at a regular, you're going from one to this. This is how we think motion moves, up and down, right? Motion is either up or down. Gravity drags your ass down, and you do the best you can to push forward, right? You have up and down. But as you move up and down, what's happening is these are teeny tiny little steps of all of the way. Oh, that's not what I wanted. So these are teeny tiny little steps that are occurring, right? And this is a high time frame. So it's like cycling in these steps, and these steps are moving down, right? And as these steps are moving down in time, this line, right, watch this, actually turns into this line, right? This is the true distance traveled from here to here, okay? So if you look and you go from here to here, this is not the true distance traveled. The true distance traveled was actually probably here. This is really how far you went, because what you didn't take into account is you're not taking into account this. You need to add every one of these lines all together. All these needed to be added together, and the length of every one of these single lines would be longer. This is the true line of your wave. This is the length of the true line of this wave down, right? And then when you measure the true line of this wave up here, it is not from here to here. This true wave line is from here to here, right? And this is how RSI, this is how this indicator works. Right? And these little steps that are occurring, these are the steps. These steps take time. These steps take distance. These steps are required in order to reset an indicator, because nothing can go perfectly down and nothing can go perfectly up forever. Okay? Yes, it is very difficult to explain this in a 2D format when it's a 3D realization, right? This is it's too tough. You can't get in here and so this is the best explanation I can give to you of how these charts actually fundamentally work. That's it.